So I have a confession to make. I'm kind of a messy person. Just ask Jeff.
Hey babe,
Yeah,
what's your number one grievance with me?
you never put things away and you leave doors open. Easy.
The truth is, if I don't set systems and habits in place to keep tidy and live fairly minimalist-ish, then my space can get out of hand pretty easily. But the main thing above all that's going to help you keep a clutter-free home is by having less stuff. And I know that sounds fairly simple, but if you're a messy person at heart like me, then you might need some help. So in today's video, I want to share with you 10 easy rules to owning less stuff. Because the less you own, the less there is to keep tidy. So let's get into it. Rule number 1 is to keep what you actually want. I'm sure you've heard this a million times, but the key to owning less stuff, especially when you feel like you have too much of it, is to start decluttering. Get rid of that shit. But in my experience, that's sometimes easier said than done. Decluttering can come with a lot of baggage. No pun intended. Simply put, it's emotional. And that's because we tend to connect a huge part of our identity to our things. So instead of sparking joy when we're faced with the idea of getting rid of something, it tends to spark fear instead. So to help with this, I like to focus my declutters on the things that I want to keep, not on the things that I think I should be getting rid of. In most cases, if I find myself wanting to keep something, it's an immediate yes. It sparks some level of joy, and if it doesn't do that, it's at the very least useful. Like my kitchen spatula doesn't necessarily spark joy, but life would be pretty annoying without it, so I'm gonna keep it. And so with the flip side to that, think of a time that something has sparked fear while you were decluttering it instead of joy. There may be some feelings of hesitation, of just in case, or you might even think, oh, they're gonna be pretty mad at me if they find out I got rid of this. All of that is fear. And I don't know about you, but I'm not interested in holding on to anything that makes me feel anxious, guilty, or just has bad vibes overall. And when I do end up experiencing those feelings, to me, I take it as a sign that it's probably something I can safely get rid of. Rule number 2 is the one in, one out method. If you feel like you've heard every minimalist on the planet talk about this rule, it's because they have.
The one in, one out.
One in, one out.
Use the one in, one out.
The one in, one out rule.
But it is for good reason, and that's because it works. At the end of the day, the one in, one out method comes down to simple math. If your goal is to own less, whenever you do bring in something new, that means you should try to get rid of something old. It's a really simple but effective way to prevent clutter from building back up again, especially if you worked so hard to declutter it in the first place. Rule number 3 is to take care of your stuff. It's really as simple as that. There's a whole lot of emphasis on buying quality over quantity, but none of that really means anything if you don't end up taking care of the thing that you bought. So it means things like paying attention to care instructions or opting to repair something before replacing it. I like to do this with things like my electronics, kitchenware, furniture, and even my clothes. And that's where I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, True Earth. All right, hi, we are at the new condo where we have finally our very own in-unit washer dryer. So I can't think of a better time than now to test out the new True Earth fabric softener strips. I've been using True Earth exclusively to do my laundry for the past 3 to 4 years now, and I think they are truly one of the reasons why my clothes have lasted as long as they have. True Earth is hypoallergenic, paraben-free, phosphate-free, and cruelty-free. They're super easy to use where one strip is equivalent to one load, or you can use half if you have a few garments that you need to hand wash. And True Earth recently released a fabric softener. They're super easy to use, you just throw them in along with your True Earth detergent strip, and your laundry is gonna come out a lot softer, it helps reduce wrinkles, and it has a really nice fresh linen scent. Can we just talk about how compact and space-saving all of these products are? This is my entire laundry kit right here. Amazing. So if you were interested in giving a True Earth product a try, you can use my code Christina10 to save 10% off your order. I'll leave the link in the description below, but just know that I always have my discount code linked in every single one of my videos, so it's super easy to find whenever you're ready to buy. Thanks, True Earth. Oh my god, I love having laundry. Rule number 4 is to buy less. This doesn't necessarily mean that you become the most frugal person on the planet, and this definitely doesn't mean that you start being cheap. I'm all for buying things like needs and wants, and it's kind of a reality that you may end up having to spend a little bit more for higher quality things. What I'm getting at here is avoiding buying stuff just because. You know the one, just because it's on sale, just because it was a good deal, or just because you don't want to leave the shopping trip empty-handed. Instead, focus on shopping with intention. So instead of just decluttering and focusing on what goes out, control the inflow of stuff as well. And this doesn't necessarily mean that you stop buying things altogether. If you do struggle with things like impulse buying and overspending, then I have a ton of videos on my channel that can help you with that. But really all we're getting at here is you just buy things with more intentionality. You give yourself pause and you make a plan for the purchase. You can consider how you're going to use it, how it's going to be useful in your life, how you're going to pay for it, and even how you're going to take care of it later. When you opt for intention over impulse when it comes to anything you buy, in the long run, I think you'll find you'll end up having less stuff overall and a lot more money left in your pocket. Rule number 5 is to focus on curation. This doesn't necessarily mean that your space looks lifeless and like it should be ready for a magazine at all times, but I do like to view areas of my space as almost a boutique I want to shop from, or a museum that I want to walk through and admire. It just means that everything is carefully selected and intentional, and the way everything is organized and presented is just easy on the eye. I especially like to do this with my closet when I'm curating my capsule wardrobe for the season, for example. I like to lay it out so that everything is easy to see, easy to access, and it almost feels like a boutique that I'm shopping at. And if you're struggling with this in your own closet, think about shopping from your favorite store. Everything's laid out really beautifully, it's organized, it makes sense, and overall it's curated to be a really pleasant experience. Now compare that to a space that feels really messy and cluttered. It's really hard to take in, and overall it feels more overwhelming rather than inspiring. Rule number 6 is to avoid having too many backups. Now, after Toilet Paper Gate of 2020, I do think that it's okay to have a few backups, a reasonable amount for the space that you have, but I really don't think that your home or pantry needs to look like a Costco. Sometimes it is easier and cheaper to buy in bulk, but I think especially if you have limited space and you are focusing on owning less stuff, do it strategically and where it makes sense for you and your family. I like to have duplicates of my fast-moving wardrobe basics, so I have 4 white t-shirts because they stain easily, I get them dirty, and they just tend to wear out. I like to keep 1 or 2 backups of my favorite mascaras, and even my home and laundry supplies. But the key here is that we don't really have the space to be bursting at the seams with backups, and a lot of the times if you have too many, you end up forgetting that you own them anyway, and then you just end up with more clutter in your space to deal with later. Rule number 7 is to make decluttering a habit. As much as I'd love to tell you that you really only need to do one power declutter of your home and never again, that's kind of not how it works.
All done.
The truth is that just like most habits and most things in life, owning less overall requires maintenance. And so to prevent that clutter from building back up again and to maintain a sense of owning less, you need to make it a habit. And I find the easiest way to do this is to just couple it with tasks that I do regularly anyway. If you're in your kitchen or looking at your skincare or makeup, you can consider decluttering expired products. And even when I'm putting away laundry, I like to think about the clothes that I haven't worn in a while or that I simply just don't like anymore. Another really great tip is to get yourself a clutter catcher. So take something like a basket or a shopping bag, fill it up as you live, and then at the end of the month when the bag is full, you can take it to donation. This to me is one of the easiest ways to regularly manage the inflow of things by making managing that regular outflow a regular habit. Rule number 8 is to find your style uniform. Don't be afraid to be an outfit repeater. I have a ton of videos on how to find your personal style and how to find your own style uniform with a free Notion template so you can find your own. I'll make sure to leave that linked in the description. But the key to a style uniform doesn't necessarily mean that you wear the same thing every single day. Of course, that can make life easier and it can make it so you own less clothes, but if you happen to like clothes like me, then you don't necessarily want to wear the same thing every day. So my solution to this was finding my style uniform. And this is essentially knowing the outfit formula and the combination of clothing that I like to wear to create regular outfits that feel like myself. This has allowed me to really play with fashion, which is one of my favorite things to do, without necessarily having a wardrobe that's bursting at the seams and without the pressure to keep adding new or to chase trends all the time. If you want to do the whole Steve Jobs thing, do you, but if you do tend to like clothes and fashion, but don't want a closet full of clothes and nothing to wear, focus on finding your style uniform, and that way you can buy less, buy better, and have less overall. Rule number 9 is to find joy in things that aren't things. They say to focus on experiences over things, and there is evidence to suggest that it actually makes us happier. Because in general, the newness and that excitement of that thing that you bought tends to wear off over time, whereas the joy of things like memories gained from an experience tends to last longer, and you can even re-experience that joy as you're recalling that memory. So the saying that money can't buy happiness, I don't necessarily believe to be true, because if you spend money on experiences that bring you joy and good memories, good laughs, good feels, then that's what you bought for yourself. And in my experience as a former shopaholic who tried to buy happiness through things and status items, all of the allure of that stuff wore off really easily. It didn't end up making me happy, and if anything, it made me more stressed and worried about things like money, clutter, and everything in between. For me, myself, nowadays, I still do spend money on things like clothes, but I've also found new interests like health and the gym. It's paying me back in feeling stronger, feeling healthier, feeling fitter, and then I feel better in the clothes I already do have. This can also apply to things like travel, hosting dinner parties with friends. There's just so much more to be gained from spending money on an experience, whereas when you spend money on things, that happiness and sense of newness tends to fade away, and sometimes you end up feeling more burdened by that clutter later. And rule number 10 to owning less is to keep a wish list. Brands have gotten rid of almost any and all barriers when it comes to impulse buying. You have one-click buy, you have 1 hour shipping, and nowadays you don't even need to carry your wallet with you to buy something. And because I'm a spender and a stuff lover at heart, one of my favorite ways to create some separation from that initial wanting and the buying of it is by putting it on a wish list. I typically like to leave myself anywhere from 48 to 72 hours before I buy something, and that for me has really proven to be enough time to simply forget about the item, or if I find myself really wanting it and thinking about it, to make my plan to buy it. For me, I find the key to owning less and buying less is to simply give myself time, and that's exactly what the wish list does. For you, it can be anything you want. You can give yourself 24 hours, 48 hours, a week, a month. And if you do start keeping a wish list, I think you'll really be shocked at how much you forgot you even wanted. So those are 10 of my favorite rules that I like to follow to own less stuff. I am still working on making it a habit to pick up my socks and to close the closet door when I leave the room, but in the meantime, a lot of these rules really help me own less overall as a messy person in progress. If you like this video, I would love it so much if you gave this video a thumbs up and shared it with your friends. It is the best way that you can help support my channel, and if you haven't subscribed yet, join the fam. I'm trying to get to 200K. I just want that nice even number. Thank you again to True Earth for sponsoring this video. And if you wanted to try them out for yourself, you can use my discount code Christina10 to save 10% off at checkout. And I always have that code in my description box down below, so you can check it out at any time. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Hey, babe.